I didn't think monsters were real. Until now, that is. It's kind of hard to deny their existence after you've survived an attack by werewolves. How did I get myself into such a situation? I decided to go on a cruise. I was expecting to meet some strange people, but nothing like this. Long story short, a pack of werewolves was among the passengers, and they decided the rest of us looked pretty tasty. So they started eating the other passengers. While in human form, they'd convinced some passengers to play some sort of game with them. Don't know what it was. Apparently they were pretty good, and a large crowd had gathered to watch them. I happened to be a certain distance from the crowd. I was sunbathing, and happened to doze off when I was suddenly awoken by screams and shrieks. At first I was annoyed. I thought, what could possibly be so exciting? And then I saw the crowd dispersing and getting attacked. It took a while until it registered what was happening. Finally, I just found myself running in the same direction as everyone else without understanding why. Instinct of self-preservation, I guess. As I was running, I turned and looked back for a moment, and I saw one of the werewolves pouncing on some poor kid. I was horrified, but I couldn't stop. I had to pick up speed. Problem was, there were a lot of panicked people around, running frantically in all directions. I managed to gather with some of the other passengers to enter the dining hall and block the door as well as we could. Now the interesting part was, these weren't your Hollywood-type werewolves. They weren't active only at night, but, as I already mentioned, also by day. In fact, I suspect they could change at will. But I wasn't able to confirm or disprove this idea of mine, as once they turned into wolf form, they didn't change back. They looked a bit like Hollywood werewolves, though. They were anthropomorphic-looking wolves. Actually, they looked like a skinny bear standing on two legs. We were able to hear howling and scratching from behind the door. Luckily, our makeshift barricade held, at least for now. Now that I had had time to evaluate my situation, I panicked even more. I started to hyperventilate. I was seriously considering the possibility that I was not going to make it. Not only that, but I thought of my parents, and how devastated they would be. Even imagine my mom wailing and mourning me. If I was their only child, they would never have any grandchildren. They wouldn't have anything to remember me by. Just a few clothes and a few empty bottles of gin I had forgotten to throw away. Not only that, but since I'd gotten myself eaten by monsters, they wouldn't even have a body to bury. I looked around, and everyone was just as terrified and worried, till I noticed Carl in the corner, sipping a damn cup of tea as calmly as possible. He didn't even seem to notice the surrounding commotion. Carl was also one of the passengers. He's a tall, elderly gentleman. He looked in excellent health. In fact, you could even describe him as ripped. Carl wasn't popular with the other passengers. I think I was the only one who bothered to talk to him, or he bothered to talk to. If the guy didn't like you, he would flat out ignore you. He spent all of his time alone, sitting somewhere in his three-piece suit and stroking his long white beard, or playing with his ponytail and observing the other passengers. Carl was from somewhere in Eastern Europe. He wasn't married and didn't have any children. What he did for a living he refused to tell me, but he was a very educated man. He was very knowledgeable in matters of science, history, and philosophy. When he saw me, he gestured for me to go to him. I did. What's going on? Werewolves, man. Werewolves. I know it sounds crazy, but werewolves. He interrupted, as if it's the most mundane thing ever. You really should try the tea. It helps calm the nerves. How can you talk of tea at a time like this? Well, they also have liquor if you prefer that. No, I would rather... I was interrupted by the sound of the door breaking down. The beasts burst in, but stopped when they noticed Carl and me. Carl didn't even flinch, but the werewolves were positively terrified of him. If you ever had a dog, you are familiar with their body language. Tail tucked between the legs, head down, trying to look as small as possible, whining. You know, I really don't appreciate when your kind bothers me on vacation, said Carl, annoyed. The werewolves didn't wait for him to say another word, and ran away. Carl stood up, and walked away in his usual calm manner. The monsters were found later in their human form, with their stomachs burst from the inside. There was no sign of Carl. To this very day, I have no idea what happened. When the authorities arrived, they concluded the drinks must have been spiked, the passengers suffered from mass delusions, and started attacking each other. I don't blame them. The rational person tries to explain the unexplainable. Or the story seemed crazy, so of course it must be wrong, right? No arrests were made. Of course there weren't. The real culprits were among the dead bodies, under mysterious circumstances.